I'm going to get a message. So in the meantime, we're basically just chilling, right? I mean, topic today is going to be a pretty fun one. Bit of background, whilst I'm just waiting and chilling here. I mean, if you're here on the live, cool. It's great to see you. If you're not here with the live yet, well, we're going to be with you soon. The reason why I thought I'd do this is a lot of the conversations that I've had recently have been about, okay, cool, we're ready. So I'm going to go straight in now. All right, let's rock and roll. Click more buttons, getting live. Here we go. So welcome to this live today. We're going to be speaking about building a client generating machine. I was going to go live on Instagram, but that's not working. So we're just gonna go live on these platforms. It'd be great if you're listening live. If you let me know kind of where you're from, that'd be fantastic. Just so we can kind of see where we have people from all over the world. It'd be lovely to connect. And also, what questions do you have? My marketer Natalie is going to be reviewing kind of where we're streaming. So if you have any questions as we go throughout today, I want to make sure that gets answered as quickly and as easily as possible to really help you guys move forward. As part of today, I wanted to give as much value as I possibly could. So I've got a little presentation here that the team and I've whipped together, which is going to help with building this client generating machine. It's a step-by-step guide. We're going to be going through just a few different things and kind of show the curtains of what's been working really well for us as well as our clients, so that you can understand how you can actually build a client generating machine in your business to be able to help you move forward. So with that said, I'm going to start diving into the content, but also giving you guys a bit of an intro. I'm not sure how many of you understand what we do or have a good understanding or even understand who I am. So let's rock and roll with some intros, and then we can dive into the content for today that I really hope you find useful. Okay. Let's rock and roll. And I've got to say, just side note, when I used to do this, like in big events, I remember having a clicker, and I haven't honestly, I haven't a clicker right there. I should probably plug it in, but I'm used to clicking and the slide changing, but instead I'm just going to be like holding my little keyboard and clicking down. All right, let's have some fun today. There we go. Okay, cool. So this is our roadmap to 10K months. You can see there's a few different areas here. We're not going to be going through this all today, obviously, but we will dive into LinkedIn lead gen on autopilot. And we're going to be looking into how do you put your lead gen on autopilot and really build that client generating machine. So this is obviously the topic of today. You can see we've got a nice little black and white photo that the team have put together. I have checked the slides ahead of time, I promise. So I do kind of know what's going on, but obviously we're going to be diving into topics accordingly. So a bit of a background about me. So I used to fly around the world. I've done TED Talks in Chinese. I've spoken with HSBC. I've done this for coming up to a decade now, with helping people to manage their time more effectively, scale their business, and ultimately move things forward. And at present, we're working a lot with service-based business owners who are overwhelmed and helping them to obviously manage their businesses more effectively. And we actually have an example. There we go, as I'm breaking things. We actually have an example of our ideal avatar as well, so you can kind of understand exactly who we help as we're walking through part of today. So with that said, so for myself, I've helped found and run multiple 6-7-figure businesses, both offline and online. 5,500 companies. We've worked with 400 plus business owners and founders to date. So obviously these are some results. Feel free to screenshot them. But what's most important for us is that we're helping you to find more clients in a sustainable way that's very cost effective. And for a lot of people, when you want to build a client generating machine, we want this to be in-house versus you having to rely on someone else. I'm just going to fix this ever so briefly. There we go. Because I think for a lot of people, when you're relying on an agency, it's outside of your control. It's very difficult for you to move things forward sustainably. So we want to make sure that we're building this client generating machine for you. You're in control of. You're not spending a ton of money on ads, but you're having the right systems in place in order to make it happen. So let's go on to the first step here. So this is magnetic marketing. I'm going to ask Natalie, because obviously I know she's listening in. Do we have any questions at the moment? If we don't, and you guys are listening live, please do share your questions, and then Natalie will kind of prioritize accordingly, because I want to make sure we can kind of answer any questions that you have throughout today. Okay, cool. Haven't got any yet, which is fantastic. So we'll go into the content, and then as we do, we will have questions, I am sure. So magnetic marketing, what do I mean by this? There's really three key areas that I want us to be able to dive into today. We've got positioning, avatar, and vehicle. We're going to go into the kind of the magnetic marketing first, and then we're going to be diving into actually that client generating machine. Like, what are some of the things that need to be in place? The reason why I wanted to look at this to begin with is because it doesn't matter if you have a client generating machine if you're not converting them and if they're not interested in what you're doing. And this is where you've got to get your positioning, your avatar, and your vehicle right if you're going to be able to move forward sustainably. So if you don't have this in place, you're just not going to be able to scale your business. So these are some of the fundamentals that have to be in place. Just like you wouldn't build on a pyramid that has a weak foundation, the reason why a lot of people are failing online and they're not being effective is because their foundation isn't strong for them to be able to move forward. So first things here, let's dive into positioning. So see here, we got a vanilla ice cream, boring and repetitive. What do I mean by this? I'm gonna go full screen here, and I'm gonna dive into this because this is important. So a lot of the times when I'm speaking with founders and business owners and consultants alike, I will speak to them and I will say, hey, I feel like that's a little vanilla. And what do I mean by this? What I mean is that it's just plain. It's just boring. You're just not different compared to everyone else. Now, the truth is nowadays, we have got hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that may do what you do. And even though you may think you're unique and you may express it in a nice way, if you do not have your positioning online that shows you that you are not a vanilla ice cream, unfortunately, you're going to fall into the crowd. So what we want to be able to do is this. Imagine if you've got 100 ice cream shops that are down the road and all of them sell vanilla ice cream. If all of them sell vanilla ice cream, then it's going to be very, very difficult for you to find the right kinds of people to be able to sell to. Matt, appreciate it, bro. Nice to see you. So when it comes to using my analogy, our little ice cream shops, we want to make sure that you've got a chocolate shop or something different. You're selling dragon fruit or passion fruit, whatever it is, but something that differentiates you from other people in the market. So how do you do this? You want to make sure that what you're producing, how you're positioned, your tagline, for example, on LinkedIn, is something that draws attention and creates curiosity versus, for a lot of people, which is being way too, going back to the slides here, boring and repetitive. Because if you're boring and repetitive and you do the same thing, and by repetitive, it's being the same as everyone else. I'm not saying sharing your story on repeat because that is very important, but I'm saying repetitive is in the same as everyone else. Looking at a bunch of sheep, they're all the same. If you're a pink elephant, oh, hey, that's something very, very different that's going to actually allow people to stop and think and figure out what you're doing. So with that said, this is one of the things that we see far too often, which is boring and repetitive. Now from there, if I kind of whip up my keyboard here, this is my clicker for today. We're going to go down. There we go. Use your avatar. Okay. So this is something that I did with my team and I think this is probably something we did about 6 months ago, where we were looking into kind of who is your ideal avatar. And I think for a lot of people, they struggle to figure out who they're helping and what they're doing and finding out like who those people are. So you want to make sure that you're clarifying who that avatar is and who you're taking on. Are they the types of people that you want to work with? So as an example, like we've taken on 3 clients over the past couple of weeks, and I'll kind of explain where they fall into these categories. So we've got one guy that's in finance. I know we've got crypto here. We don't have finance, but pretty much kind of the finance element with trading. So here we've got financial services. Obviously, he's tech savvy with financial services. For him, he's currently been, I think, a year and a half, so slightly outside, but he's a young chap. His revenue is currently at about 120K, and obviously he wants to start to move forward. And he's just one founder at the moment, but he wants to expand. That's one example. Another one is IT companies, so IT services. He's been in business probably about 10 years, and he's currently at the 25K per month mark, so about 250K, wanting to move forward. So something that's very easy to figure out, who your ideal avatar is. Do they fit into your avatar? But if you don't know who that is, and you don't have complete clarity in your marketing and how you're sharing with who it is, it's very difficult for you to build a client-generating machine. I was having a conversation today with a guy he's been in the business, has been running for about 100 plus years, and he has been running it for 30 years now. It's a family business. And one of the things that he mentioned is you obviously can't have a huge net. We want to make sure we get very clear on who that is. if you're going to be starting to build this client generating machine, we want to make sure it's very, very clear like who it is that you're targeting and obviously making it a little bit different. Now from there, what is your vehicle? So just very briefly on this is figuring out the vehicle to target your ideal clients. And I was having a think about what kind of image I thought would represent this. And I think for a lot of people, the vehicle they have been using has been paper planes, right? It's been, this is what we've been doing. We've been giving it a go, and you've been using maybe different social platforms. What's cool nowadays, and this is the world that we're moving into, is with any vehicle that you're doing, there's now an upgrade. So as opposed to a paper airplane, you could use a real airplane. We've got AI, we've got different systems and automations and things like that in place that can really allow you to move things forward in a very, very sustainable way. So your vehicle is not picking 10 social media channels to work on. It is, what is the one thing at the moment that you can do and double down on it to make it work? And then from there, you need to have a backup strategy. Why? If your primary strategy goes down, you need to have a backup that also works. However, you want to double down on that one thing that's working really, really, really well if you're going to be able to move forward in a sustainable way. So that said, I think one of the guys, we got it here. So one of the things that we're doing is obviously helping a lot of people build that client generating machine. One of the things that we work in is make sure you're getting high quality calls booked, about 5 to 7 on a weekly basis. So if you're interested in that, just drop us a DM. I came up with a DM at client generating machine. So feel free to drop us that a message on any channel, preferably LinkedIn, because that's obviously where we're most active. And we're more than happy to kind of have a free audit of your current methods and share how we help our clients to get that kind of bookings and results. So that said, let's, where am I clicking here? Clicking down. Okay, cool. So we're going to start going on to kind of LinkedIn lead gen on autopilot. And there's a few different areas that we're going to be going onto here. But before we do, I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory so you can better understand exactly what's going on. I see we've got a question that's come in as well. So I'm going to have some fun here. Let's do something a little bit different. So I'm going to pause on this because you know what, we're live streaming. Sometimes you just gotta have fun. Okay, so we've got someone that's mentioned any tips on how to be different. What should I consider when crafting my positioning? Great, Natalie. Can you give me any name that you want? I know we did this the other day. So just pick a name, and I'm going to search for someone on LinkedIn, and I'm going to go through an example here, and let's just have some fun live, and we can kind of go through this. Henry. Okay, Henry's my middle name actually, so there we go. I bet you didn't know that. All right, cool. So let me share my screen, and let's do this live so you can kind of see where we're going with this. All right, okay. So I'm going to type in Henry, and we're just going to look at the first person that comes up. It's Henry Reynolds. He is the chap. Okay. In fact, no, I'll do someone I'm connected with. Why not? Okay, cool. So we've got Henry. Henry is the chap that I've connected with him. I actually had a chat with him the other day about the business show. Okay. So when we're looking into this profile and like what he does, and if we go back to the question, how do you be different when crafting your positioning? So this is a very generic launch or grow your business from a business show. We know he's an event director, working from home live. It's positioned in a way that says what he does, but it doesn't say who he helps. This is a great example, right? If we imagine if he wants to target someone in particular, it's very difficult to be able to do that when we're just sharing what I do. Instead, it's, are you struggling to grow your business online? As an example, we help businesses gain, like 6 months of clients in 2 days. Cool, that will be a great pitch, or something like that, that suddenly draws your interest. Because if we type in Henry again, I mean, look, obviously this is the first thing that we see, co-founder, managing director. Okay, like that comes up. There's no curiosity, especially when they come from your network as a friend request. So in this case, what we want to be able to do, if we kind of go down, is about event director and contact. Like that is very, very budget. There's obviously much more that we can do there to be able to move forward here. Like there's nothing interesting here to be able to do. Now, obviously, LinkedIn may not be the primary source, but if they were to use LinkedIn as the primary source, that's some of the keys there that we want to be able to look at. So we want to make sure that by being different, we're targeting a few different things. We want to make sure we got the banner, which is calling to someone. Obviously, we've got the tagline. That's really, really important to be able to move forward. And ultimately, we're making sure we're positioned in the right way. You can see here as well that there isn't the featured sections. That's something else to make your profile more different, to show that you're standing out. Once again, you can model this on my LinkedIn and kind of see what we're doing anyway, but that's a good example. Let me know if that answers your question. Sorry, I don't know your name, Natalie didn't include that. But in the meantime, if any other questions come up, please do let me know. That was a fun little tangent there. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to carry on with this content. If anyone else has got any other questions, obviously we can rock and roll with that. In the meantime, let's look into this client generating machine. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and let's rock and roll again with these slides. Which I have to say, I think the guys have done quite well designing. I'm going to be honest. Like, I know I did a little talks which were quite budget, but the guys have done pretty well with this so far. Okay, so I mean, we can obviously upgrade the photos and things like that, but it's not bad. It's been a while since we've done some lives. So let's go on to LinkedIn Lead Gen on Autopilot here. So something to consider that other people will share that I think do not work whatsoever, and I'm going to be very strong in my opinions here. One is an evergreen course. Now, unfortunately, most evergreen courses are no longer ever going to be evergreen because of the way the world's moving. The way technology is moving, you're going to have to keep upgrading things. Having a low value, like a low ticket course, what I mean by low ticket is anywhere between 19 to 100 pounds, probably isn't going to help you massively with your business when you're first getting started. It's obviously better to go high ticket. And especially with lead gen, you can do an evergreen course. You can say, I'm going to generate leads by offering a lot of free content, but a lot of people don't value it because it's free. I don't think it's the best strategy. Next, you've got your Gary V content push, which is produce loads and loads and loads and loads of content. Now, that's easy to say. Obviously, Gary's done very, very well for himself, but you also need to get clarity on what channels, what kind of content, and also not just be producing content and content and content. You need to have a strategy behind it. And I think a lot of people get confused because they're attempting to do one thing over and over again, and it just isn't working sustainably for them. Next, we've got the ads webinar sale. I mean, if you've been in this industry for the past 5-6 years, you should have seen this funnel. Run an ad to a webinar, get a sale. It's obviously very old compared to what it was. And then you could hire a lead gen agency. Now, the problem with hiring a lead gen agency is that it's very expensive. You can waste a lot of money. And most importantly, it is not in-house. So what we want to do is to scrap all of this and come up with a better system. So this is what we have and what we recommend to people. So if you want lead gen on autopilot, there are 3 core things that you want to be paying attention to. So we're looking at magnetic content using AI. So what does that mean? It means we want to make sure that your content is being produced in the right way. There's a tool I'm going to share shortly. I recommend checking it out for LinkedIn. There's other tools for Instagram and things like that, depending on where you're marketing. We want to make sure you're producing magnetic content, leveraging AI that's already available to help you move forward. Then we've got something called CAP, our client attraction process. And this is looking into how do you create outreach in a way that is human, authentic, connects with the right people, and you can book calls. And then ultimately, how do you have an authentic sales conversation with someone to enable them to get on that booked call and on the booked call as well. So there's a few different elements here, which we're going to be diving into as we're looking forward to today. With that said, I'm going to ask Natalie as well if there's any other questions. If anyone else does have a question at this point in time, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm not sure if I answered the question there. I'm just going to give myself a little sip of water. And now we're going to be rocking and rolling. Now, when I used to do events here, I'd be like, yeah, give people a high five, connect, introduce yourself. I can't really do that because most people are sitting at home at a computer. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit different now. So, get yourself a cup of tea, chill out, sit back. Well, you're not going to be here for that long, but, we'll be diving into some different stuff, which is cool. Okay, cool. Natalie, I appreciate you letting me know. Right. Let's rock and roll. So AI generated content. Okay, so this is really interesting. This is a tool called Taplio. There's lots of them out there. I'm not going to give you a list of like 100 tools. There's enough of those on LinkedIn. This is one of the tools that we use. But we play around with a few different things. Ultimately, what we want to look at here is how do you generate content using AI that's already doing very well. So as an example, this is like productivity hacks for writers. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that on screen, but basically you can just model it and then you can repost it. Now, I'm going to put a word of caution here. I'm actually going to stop sharing because this is so important. I don't want people to make this mistake. When you're using these tools, do not be vanilla. I've mentioned vanilla. Now, vanilla is where you copy and paste, you get ChatGPT to write something, or you use a tool like this, and then you just post the same thing. Like, that strategy ain't gonna work. People see through that. I can literally look at a post and see if it's written by ChatGPT because it's just got a style. Unless you're very good at prompts, and I don't think many people are, and I know prompting is something that I speak to our team about a lot because we want to get better at prompts. It's going to be very difficult for you to move your content forward in a way that works. So what you want to do is to use this as inspiration, use this as this does work, and then make it your own and add your own flavor to it and do something different, because only by doing that, you're actually going to start generating content on a consistent basis that's going to allow you to move forward from that content standpoint where you're actually building this machine. Because this is where we're looking at our first machine, which is your inbound machine. You want to be able to create a process that allows you to generate inbound leads. Okay. So this is one of the ones that we recommend. Yeah, I think we've got about 18 to 20 strategies at the moment. I'm going to go through a couple of them so you can kind of understand what it looks like. And then ultimately you can steal, model, have whatever you want to be able to figure out what you want to do in your business. So what do I mean by this client generated machine from an inbound standpoint? You want to make sure that the business that you're running is having certain things done on a consistent basis that will cause organic engagement. People are interested in what you're doing and you're adding value in different ways. So Taplio is one example. So you can see what content performs well and you can be adding value. Usually the ones that perform best are ones that add value. So it's giving you an opportunity to see how value is currently being added on LinkedIn as an example. So this is one thing that you can do. Now there's another thing. Let me share my screen here. And I've got a few other examples. I'm not sure which one we took from the training. So we've got next one, which is key dates. This is a good example. So this is actually something new that I'm doing with a lot of people for personal branding. So this is just an example of like one I did for like a Spartan warrior post. Okay. Now, what do we mean by key dates? So key dates is being able to think about the key dates that you have achieved perhaps in your life, in your business that have occurred. And then you can start to produce information around these key dates to be able to allow you to build a better presence. So this is where you're building a human rapport with people. You can build engagement in a different way. And for a lot of people, because they don't have key dates, they don't prepare in advance, it can be very challenging to be able to just move things forward in a way that really works. So what we want to do is make sure that you've clarified what those key dates, maybe looked at a calendar ahead of time, start building that personal brand if that's something that you so wish. And then from there, you can start snowballing content, make it really personalized of what you're doing that's very different because it's personal to you that you're posting. Like I could share about a Spartan event, someone else could do the same thing, but how we interpret it, what we've done, etc., is very different, and how you relay it back to business. So this is a great example of like how we use that as a business experience, even though it's something outside of it. And the more creative you can get, the better it will be to enable you to move forward. Next, results in advance. So this is a really cool strategy. So as an example, since using our LinkedIn daily tracker, we've been booking 10 calls per week, huge game changer. Who wants a copy? So you see we've got comments, we've got likes, we've got people that are interested in this. This is a great way to add value, a lot of value to the people in your community, and also spark up a conversation. So we use this method, RIA, results in advance, to be able to add value to the people who are helping. So out of interest, if you're on the live and you do want this tracker, feel free to comment on the live saying, LinkedIn daily tracker, and we'll send that your way as well. So you can experience what it's like to be part of this results in advance strategy. And depending on the platform that you are, just comment and I'll have my team sweep it after and we can kind of ping that over to you. But as an example, that's something that adds a lot of value. Now, when we're looking into this results in advance as a strategy, I'll just stop sharing briefly so I can chat to you about it. We want to make sure that you are looking at small wins that your clients can gain through what you've already created. So if you've created spreadsheets, automation systems, and there's an opportunity for someone to get a big win just for free by commenting, etc., that's a really great way for you to build immediate rapport with people and start to generate things organically and build your own client generated machine from an inbound perspective. So make sure that you're paying attention to the inbound side of things, because that is where you're really going to be able to add a lot of value to your community and move things forward in a really, really great way. So these are some examples of our inbound systems. And I want to dive into outbound systems just briefly. And I had an analogy here that I really hope resonates with you guys, to be able to figure out what to do here. So this is our client attraction process. And I've got an image of a coffee shop here. And I want to explain what most people do and why it does not work when it comes to outreach. So as an example, I literally got an email today, which is, hey, these are the services that we offer. Are you interested in it? Now, if you imagine going to a coffee shop, and I want you to imagine that you're single and you're looking for a date. I know this is different, but hopefully it resonates. So you walk in and you can go up to someone and say, hey, look, do you want to go on a date? Now they're probably going to be like, no. Like, it's out of nowhere. There's no context. It's very strange, right? If you give people context, it becomes easier to be able to have a conversation. They'll be more open to receiving what you're sharing. So as an example, when we are looking into this coffee shop, someone's looking at buying a pain au chocolat. You could say, hey, look, I love my pain au chocolats. I see you buying one as well. Curious if this one's any good. You know what I mean? I'm obviously not here to share pickup lines, but I'm going to give a business example as well so you can see how this works. Doing that versus the original just sharing strategy is ineffective, right? We want to make sure that what we're doing is different and we're creating that bridge. Most people don't have that bridge. They go cold and they miss the human connection. And this is what makes outreach really effective. And when you're building this kind of cold outreach machine, you want to make sure that you have some of these elements sprinkled in that really makes a difference. So as an example, I've noticed from the email marketing, and I'm taking a side note here, but you'll understand, is they'll often lead with a compliment of something that they've seen. Hey, I recently saw your podcast. I really liked XYZ. And then by doing that, it creates a stream of a bridge versus an interrupt, which people don't pay attention to. So it's just something to bear in mind that the truth is the world is evolving now. We need to be innovative with the times and make sure that we are building in different processes to what we're doing. So from that cold outreach perspective, what are some of the things that you need to be able to think about? You want to make sure you've got sequences that target people depending on where they are on their journey. So what do I mean by this? Now, there's some people that are ready to buy. They are ready to buy and they're like, yes, I'm ready to buy right now. There are some people that could be thinking about buying. The message sent to these people is going to be different. And then you may have people that are so busy, they're not thinking about it, but if they see a result, they would be interested. So what do you do? In your sequencing, you want to target people at different stages so that you're casting a net that will allow you to hit people at different points. So you're crafting the message accordingly in the follow-ups to enable you to connect in the right way so that you are following up in a genuinely authentic way, but hitting different people's points depending on what they need most. So this is super, super important to pay attention to, because if you don't understand the fundamentals of psychology and build that into what you're already doing, it's going to be very, very difficult to actually find the right kinds of people and convert them in an authentic way versus just spamming and impacting your business's reputation. So that's something to bear in mind. We want to make sure that we are building that cold outreach system in a way that's really going to help you to be able to move forward where you're focusing on the right kinds of things. Last thing is authentic sales conversations. You want to make sure that you are human, you're understanding pain, you're seen as an expert, and then you're going to get book calls. But for a lot of people, they don't have that human element. They're missing that human response. If you aren't doing things in a human way, you might as well be chatting to sophisticated AI. And this is where even AI can often understand what you're doing in a better way. So you want to make sure you come across with as human as you possibly can to be able to move forward so that you're really building your business up sustainably. So with that said, this is the end of kind of our slides. Natalie, I'm going to ask you as well to look at some different questions. I think I know there was a couple that were sent ahead of time of people that kind of couldn't be part of the stream. So feel free to put that into the chat, and I'm more than happy to kind of go into a little bit of a Q&A here. In the meantime, I really hope that this was helpful for those that have attended, or if you're watching the replay, I genuinely do hope this is helpful. Once again, if you do want to have a conversation, feel free to DM Client Generator Machine. More than happy to share, what we do and how we do it in order to enable you to kind of get more book calls on a regular basis. So that said, I'm going to stop screen sharing, and I'm going to start to rock and roll with some of these other questions with regards to profiles. So We have one on optimizing LinkedIn. Okay, here we go. Oh, sorry, I'm getting myself confused here. Okay, so what are some of the best practices for managing and organizing my LinkedIn connections? Okay, so the truth is, when it comes to LinkedIn, you don't really need to manage and organize connections that much unless you've got 30,000 connections. Now, there's not many people that I know that have 30,000 connections. So until you have that, you don't really need to think about it. That said, if you're attempting to market to all your first degree connections and you're going to be sending them messages and you're going to be following up, it could be worth removing people that aren't part of your ideal clients if you don't want to be connected with them. Now, that said, usually it's better to stay connected with people so that you can understand what's going on and just remove people that you wouldn't want to be part of your connected network. I know for a lot of people, when they've gone started in building their connections, maybe you've connected with people that aren't your ideal type of client, or maybe you're connecting with lots of the people in your industry. It could be worth thinking about instead, how do you honestly, as a man, I cannot do two things at once. I'm seeing messages pop up and I literally am terrible at reading them. So I saw the message. I'm gonna reply to this. Sure, I can see you want to see the LinkedIn tracker. I'll get the team to send that to you. No worries. We'll make sure we get that your way. Any other questions, obviously, feel free. And Scott, nice to see you, bro. Yeah, for somebody, it's so interesting we're using a different software here. We're using Restream, but yeah, like it just says LinkedIn user that comes up here. Like, I don't even see the name. So Natalie, I appreciate you letting me know about that. Now, where am I going with this? Just with managing connections, and then Natalie, feel free to post the next question. Is this when the way the LinkedIn algorithm works is you want to make sure that you are connected with your ideal clients, because if they engage, they will most likely know more people that are your ideal clients, and more of those people will see it. So this is where we want to make sure that we are building your connections and you're organizing them in a way that allows you and your content to be engaged with the right kinds of people, versus having it be seen by a lot of people that aren't your ideal target market. And I'm gonna take a little curveball here. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn that will look like they have a lot of engagement. I had my team and obviously Natalie and I have another chap as well to dive into like what's going on here, because sometimes I feel like there's something fishy going on. And what we were noticing is a lot of these people are just running ads to India, and they're hoping they get loads and loads of engagement, and then they're basically selling that on, which I mean, it's something that I'm very wary of, because I think a lot of people nowadays, you've got to be very wary of who you can trust, what they're doing, is it working? So it's something to really bear in mind. Like, we want to make sure that you are following a system that is sustainable, that works, that isn't short term. You know, in the short term, the bad guys can win, but then long term, it always wins. Like, if you're delivering great service and you are very good at what you do, you're going to be able to get more and more people to support and help. And people will have bad experiences, and they'll know that. So this is just something to bear in mind as well. Make sure you're not cutting corners, especially with the connection standard point and everything else on LinkedIn, because it's going to impact you long term. Cool. All right. I'm going to take a break with some water. If there's any other questions, let me know. If not, okay, here we go. Right. Okay. So what are some effective methods for kind of leveraging AI from a LinkedIn standpoint? So I'm very wary of making sure that we're paying attention to what is allowed and what is not allowed. So you want to make sure that you are looking into systems that you would be happy to use, that are human, that give you the best bang for your buck. Now, there are a lot of systems out there. Some work better than others. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to not only the system, but how you use it. And this is super, super important. Like, if you imagine a car, you can get into a car, it can help you get to a place, but it's about the driver in the car. Now, when you're using AI, that's basically the car, but you're also now putting a driver in the seat and you're going, okay, good luck. And for a lot of people, because they don't know how to use AI in the right way and put up the right systems, it can impact you in a negative way. So I'd be very wary of just diving into trying to create everything automated in your business, especially on the lead gen standpoint. You've got to take a step back and look from a psychology standpoint, like what makes sense, what's human, like can the platforms that you use differentiate between a bot and a human? And if it can, what are some of the things that have to be in place in order for you to move forward to make sure that your account doesn't get negatively impacted? So something that I would say is when it comes to those kind of AI systems, I'm always very wary of sharing anything outright because I want to make sure it's obviously right for you, right for your business, etc. So what I would say is if you want to have a more further in-depth conversation about that, you are more than happy to hop on with one of my team or myself and we can have a convo. I'm going to be on my honeymoon next week, so you're more than happy to chat to Suraj. He's the chap that helps me kind of manage everything from our LinkedIn standpoint. So you can drop us a message and we're more than happy to have a conversation about that, where we can dive a little bit more in depth into those kinds of methods. Cool. Natalie, have we got anything else? I'm going to be wrapping up in the next 5 because I've got a call. But whilst we're here, whilst we're live, why not answer one more question? Once again, if anyone live here does have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. I know we're live on a few different platforms, so I want to make sure we're going in on this. Okay, cool. Okay, great. So this is a question which is, you mentioned paying attention to inbound leads. Can you give any tips on that? Yes, I can. When it comes to paying attention to your inbound leads, what does that mean? If you are running your, let me give an example here. So you are running a shop and you have a shop whereby someone comes in and they go, yeah, I really like that muffin. And then they walk out the shop. They don't buy anything. They just said, you know what, that muffin is lovely. That looks like a great muffin. And someone else comes in, that's a bacon sandwich. Oh, that looks great. And then you're like, well, they didn't buy, they didn't do anything. That's it. Well, then from there, it would make sense to pay attention to what they're saying. Hey, I saw you like the post. I saw you like muffins, right? Tell me a little bit more. Tell me, are you a chocolate muffin fan or are you a blueberry? And then they say, honestly, right now I'm a blueberry. Cool. Talk to me a little bit about that. And what are you using? You're using context to start a conversation with someone to be able to move forward. So for a lot of people, because they're not using that context, you're losing people that could be interested in what you're doing because they've come into a shop, they've liked the muffin as such. And I know I'm using a different example here, but the reason why is because sometimes we can understand that using an analogy versus in our own business. You want to make sure that you're using that context and figuring out what's going on with them so that you can move forward in a really sustainable way. So make sure that you're paying attention to who is liking, who is engaging, who is commenting, who is sharing your content, because it's those people that you want to build a relationship with. It's not about selling them. It's not about getting them to buy straight away. But if you build a relationship with someone and through time they can see what you're doing and they see what you're baking, etc. I don't know why I'm going with this analogy. Screw it, why not? It's going to allow you to be able to start building the right connections. And what you're doing is you're building that network through time that gets nurtured. More people engage, more people know, like, and engage in your content. And then you're sparking conversations where people are genuinely interested in what you're doing. And that's the most important thing, because if you can become more interested in someone else and help them win, then you win. So that's what you've got to do. And you've got to pay attention to that from an inbound perspective to be able to move forward. So with that said, team, we're going to be wrapping up. I've got another call shortly. So I really hope that you have enjoyed this live. Please comment if you've got any questions. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. Feel free to share with anyone that you think will benefit. And in the meantime, our next live, I don't know when it's booked. I reckon we've got it in like 3 weeks' time or something like that. But we're going to be diving into another aspect of kind of the online business side of things with systems and automations and things like that. And you can see some of the background of what we use to really help you move forward. All right, guys, with that said, I'm going to wrap this up. I will see you next time. And I hope you have a wonderful day, morning, evening, wherever you are. We are out of